Well, good evening, Chameleon Academy. Welcome to this open question and answer session where we talk about anything about chameleons that you'd like to talk about. And so go ahead and put any questions you might have into the chat here, and we'll talk about whatever's out there. Looks like Hunter is going to be starting his journey with panther chameleons. Wonderful. Okay, let's see. Had a veiled when I was in my early 20s and excited to jump back in. This time's going to take time to get everything set up perfectly first. Hello, Aaron. Aaron, I know, has got an egg that he's working on and getting ready for that. It says, Hunter says, I've been doing a lot of catch up on the new husbandry techniques. Yeah, there's been a lot going on. We've been pushing things forward. So, what mister do you recommend for a hatchling? What I recommend for a hatchling is that you use a Mist King. And the reason why is that I recommend that you use a 24 by 48 inch tall cage, and that you set it up with a Mist King just like you would do for and I have a little bit of a cold, so I may be taking little breaks like that, and we may cut this off at midpoint. So excuse me. This may get a little rough. So anyway, with hatchlings, that's the theme of the what we're going to be going over. What we're going over in the Chameleon Academy, we have the newsletter and we have the Saturday workshop. We're going over chameleon care, and if you have just one chameleon, then you put it into the adult size cage. One hatchling chameleon in the adult size cage. That is what is the best. So give me a second. I am going to close the door here. Hello, that girl. Good girl. So, okay. Why the Mist King over the others? Because the Mist King is the best mister. Really, there's other misters that we have, like the Zoomed has a very weak mister. Don't even bother with that one. The Exoterra Monsoon is actually a good mister, but it's designed for glass cages, and so it's got suction cups and such. So it's very hard to work with in our typical chameleon cages. And the timer, it's got a very poor timer. The Mist King has a seconds timer, and it's just a high quality system. So I would do the Mist King. There's just no other. Climb Mist is a company that does a equivalent mister. So you could do that. Let's see. Was watched live this weekend, but wasn't able to join it live. Sadly, I already got a 16 by 16 by 24. Well, not sadly. Go get the right cage. Yeah, just but I plan on buying the tall screen from Dragon. Okay, well, that's after a couple, and that's okay. The 16 by 16 by 24 will be fine for let's see, a panther chameleon. It'll keep you for 3-4 months. That should be just fine. Now, panther chameleons these days they grow quickly, especially if you give them all the food that they need. They will grow quickly. So it's a great cage to start off with. If you're getting a Mist King for a smaller cage like that, instead of having the mister inside the cage, have the mister above the cage going through the screen, and that's going to disperse it a little bit. If you just have, like, the Mist King is a powerful system, it can run 10 mist heads. If you have it just running one mister going into a small cage, then you run the risk of overpowering the poor baby, because that's pressurized water. And in a large cage, 2x2x4, no problem whatsoever. It has the space to disperse. But in a small cage, you got to be careful when you put it all together. So you can get the Miss King. It's great, and it'll work on your larger system. See, this is what's important, is when you're putting together a grow out cage situation, you're having to get equipment that'll work with the grow out cage as well. And you don't want to have to rebuy it when you get the adult size cage. So I would say get the adult size equipment and diffuse it. Like take the UVB and raise it up. The basking light, raise it up. The mister, have the Miss King, but have it a little bit above the cage going through the screen top. And that way it isn't as powerful directly on the Chameleon. So let's see. Hello, CD Constrictors. Just purchased a 5-pack of ledges from you. Hey, all right. Excellent. Hunter is asking, my main question, when can I buy a 4x2x4 atrium enclosure for you? Oh, I would love for that to be soon. We're going through a redesign right now, and it looks like it's going to be a little bit longer. So, I don't know how long that's going to be. Working on it, though. I got to work on it. So let's see. Going through the chat here. Everybody's saying hello to everybody. It's wonderful. Any tips for Umbanja Panther chameleons? They are essentially the same as regular panther chameleons. And so just enjoy. They're great. And they're just, what can I say? Go to chameleonacademy.com. You got a profile that gives all about panther chameleons. Go there and follow that. The tips they're awesome and they're pretty easy. I would say definitely go to a reputable breeder and get yourself a panther chameleon from someone who has raised it up and is reputable. I would suggest looking for somebody who individually raises their chameleons, because that way you're going to know that you've got the best. Your panther hatchling has had the best childhood possible, and that's really the best thing you can do, because your breeder, I would say, do your research into your breeders and look into the husbandry that they give their chameleons. Most people shop for panther chameleons by looking at the colors on the page. Those are the fathers, and you will get some of those genetics, but really what differentiates the breeders is how they've taken care of their babies. So start with that. Who individually raises their chameleons, and find a Umbanja Panther chameleon breeder that does that. And I know you may have troubles finding one. We've just got breeders who are starting. I'm not sure how many of those breeders who do the individually raising are working with the Umbanjas, but it's worth checking. Let them know that is important. Oh yeah. Thank you, everybody. We're feeling better. Yes, I'm working on feeling better. Okay, they're checking in on the Parsons care sheet. Yes, Parsons care sheet. Still targeting April for that one. So, all right, we are going through. Hello, Mace's Turtles. Hey, Ramphibious, you're back. Ramphibious has had a little bit of cold as well. Sprout Photography said, okay, starting some fruit fly cultures. Got a kit from Josh's Frogs. Any idea why my mixture turned black? I don't know. Boil the water first. Generally, that's I haven't used the mixture from Josh's Frogs. I don't know if it's supposed to turn black. Maybe it is. And boiling water, that's normal as part of the system. And so I don't know why it turned black. I don't know if that's a problem. You'd have to talk to the people at Josh's Frogs as to what they're using in the mixture. I've never seen anything that turns black. It's supposed to turn black, but I've never seen anything that can turn black if you do it wrong. So talk to the Josh's Frogs people and let me know, because I'm interested in that. Well, what do you mean by what exactly is going on there? Where do you suggest you use the UVB meter, or use it as the back at the basking spot? So where the chameleon is on the branch, can be on the branch, that's where you put the UVB meter. Now, if you've got a hatchling or something that climbs on the top of the cage, you've got to check that too. Check any place that your chameleon has access to. Winnie B says, is an automatic mister needed if I enjoy my nightly hand misting? Well, you don't have to. There is nothing special about it being automated other than it does it when you're not there. So you're fine there. Can you drop any info on the design of the enclosure? It's essentially going to look like my my tall hybrid cage, except it's going to be extended out, and that's the way it's going to look. You think more than 4 months on the 4x2? I think I'll go ahead and grab a 2x2 hybrid and get rocky. Hunter, unfortunately I would say that's the safest way, is to just go with the 2x2x4 hybrid. That's your safest way to do it right now. I got the I took a look at the where we are right now, and I'm thinking, we got a ways to go. So I'd hate to be stringing people along. I've got another, there's all sorts of options I have going on, but nothing is certain. Hate this. So, see, following up on above, fruit flies, should you use store cultures in light or dark environments? I actually don't know. I've always kept them in light environments. I don't know if they do better in dark environments. Yeah, I don't put them directly under lights, but they're just in a room that gets sunlight. So I don't know. I'll have to see what the experts say on that. Although I will say, doing it the way I'm doing it, I get great production. So I don't know that it really makes a difference. So hey, Bill, how do you get rid of mold on potting soil? With all the moisture, it seems to be growing. What kind of mold are you talking about? You're talking about gray mold? I don't know about that. I have a leaf litter on the soil, and I don't get mold. If you're talking about the yellow stuff, then that's the normal kind of mold that comes and goes with systems, and I don't even bother worrying about that one. Let's see. See, my 8-month-old male panther has started to want to come out of his enclosure. Do you agree with the belief that there's something wrong in his environment, or is he just gaining confidence? I agree with the belief that you should check for something wrong in his environment. It could be any number of things, but the safest thing for you to do as a keeper is assume the worst and work on figuring out if there is something. It could be that he's just curious and says, hey, there's something across the room that I want to check out, and it has nothing to do with your enclosure. Your enclosure may be perfect, but if he sees something across the room and he wants to go check it out, maybe that's what he's doing. But the safest thing for you to do as a keeper is go through your entire checklist to make sure that there's nothing in the cage that is driving him away, because we can't know. We can't ask him. So we have to assume something. The problem is, if we assume that he's just being curious, we may miss something wrong with his environment. So we have to assume the worst. And that's why I talk about checking the environment and assuming that there's something wrong with the environment, because the consequences of being wrong about there being something wrong with the environment are a whole lot better than assuming everything is great because I'm such a great keeper and missing something. So I would say check just to be safe, but it could be anything. Really could be anything. How are the baby Brevs doing? They're doing great. They came and they were they had an appearance on Saturday. That was your birthday. You were supposed to be there. So they were there and they are doing great. And we're looking for a window so they can go to Steve Hefner so he can breed them. So any thoughts on sphagnum moss versus potting soil on plants? I use potting soil. I don't use sphagnum moss. The problem with sphagnum moss is if they zap a cricket that's in the moss and then they pull in the sphagnum moss, they could just keep having to pull in the sphagnum moss because it doesn't end. So that's the one thing about sphagnum moss I don't like. I don't like any of the mosses. Let's see, Bill, I had a concern about my baby Cam. He keeps closing his eyes on and off during the day. Doesn't seem sluggish or lethargic and is eating like a champ. Oh, you're right to be concerned. It's going to be hard. So it's just something is starting to bother your Cam. You just need to figure out what it is. And once again, it's really hard because especially a baby Cam, and when they close their eyes, it can be anything. So it's time to start gathering data and figuring out if there's something else you can work with. So Rock of the Bow. We're talking about the window seal. When using the window seal, do you always suggest doing so on both sides plus the back? And what Rock of the French Bulldog is talking about is the insulation, the plastic insulation of that window insulation that I put on my cages when I want to turn a screen cage into a hybrid cage. And I put them on both sides, the back and the front door. And often I close in the flip up service door, except just an inch at the top. And so I really do just enclose the cage. And that's what you have to do if you want to get the chimney effect. If you just want to protect the walls from a mist getting out of the cage, then sides and back are fine. Well, hello, wild horses. Hey, Amy's Reptile Adventure is here. Hello. Great to have you. Kazukuza from Japan is here. Wonderful. All right. Excuse me, everybody. Give me a second. I am back. Yeah, we have just getting over the cold. Still have a little bit of cough. Let's see, just ordered a UV index meter, but all my temperatures seem to be on point and humidity seems to be great. Intermission, the one thing that usually people miss, and I haven't seen your enclosure, is hiding spots for chameleons to be able to hide behind the plants and feel secure. Now, panther chameleons tend to be a species that will roam, so it could be that. But check your plants. Make sure not that it looks all nice and green, but there's actually places behind plants that your chameleon has a perching branch that they can get behind and be out of view. That's the biggest thing. Polycarbonate. We have a question about polycarbonate. Are you talking about wild horses? You're talking about the putting polycarbonate on the sides of a cage to holding humidity? Yes, it does work. It does work. So, is licking dry branches indicative of anything? That's the way chameleons use that to just check out the branches. We don't know why they do that, and so uh, it's we don't know why they do that. It's just normal, but it doesn't have anything to do with hydration. So, any recommendations for online retailers to get an adhesive forest background for the pet sides and back of a hybrid cage? Petbackdrops.com is where I go to. And actually, they did all of the ones in the cages you see back there. So petbackdrops.com. Let's see. Pet, I'm going to get a... let's see if I can get... There we go. I am going to put a link in the comments. And it'll be a link on the comments on the YouTube site. So, can you all hear my poor wife in the background? She's dealing with the cold as well. Yeah. That cold still bothers me too. It doesn't seem to go away easily. No, it doesn't. And we've identified that this is a cold. It's not COVID. We've all tested it. So, all right. Would you recommend a dropper for hatchlings? No. I mean, you can use a dripper for hatchlings, but I use a mister and a fogger. I like misting and fogging for hatchlings. Both of those are more gentle. The dripper can be fine, but you get a big drip that comes down, and that's sometimes the drip that comes down is big enough to be difficult for baby chameleons to work with. If they're trying to lick the leaf that the drop is hitting down, the drop can, it's really big, about the size of their head. So you got to be careful to make it a gentle drip. Maybe attach a leaf up to it so it trickles down. Try that. I'm having to hold up my chameleon food for him to eat. Is it a sign of an issue or just a spoiled baby? It depends if their tongue is damaged. It can be an issue if they're zapping from your hands, that's fine. So when you say you're having to hold up your chameleon food for him to, do you mean that they won't eat if you keep them in a speed or run cup, or do you mean that they have trouble with their tongue? That's the question. Oh, Sprout Photography, as far as cages and go over it, if anybody here is willing to allow me to do a cage review online in front of everybody, send me the cage at bill@chameleonacademy.com and let me take a look at it and see if it would be useful for the community to see. And so occasionally I'll do a cage review, specific cage reviews, if it's able to be done publicly, so everybody can benefit from it. So, see, is it normal for your chameleon to go a couple of days without eating sometimes? Am I overfeeding? Logan, it is. Chameleons don't generally, especially in captivity, they don't make active chameleons. Someone is saying that there's a chameleon going on behind me. Yeah. He's about to go into a bigger cage. He's had enough of that size cage. He needs to go. I'm preparing a much larger cage for him. So looks like she wants to come out. Yes, because he is sick of that cage. He wants a bigger cage, and that's why he is going into a huge cage that I'm preparing for him right now, because he's just not happy. Hey, dude, you want to come out? Let's go ahead and say hello to everybody. This here is a captive hatched male Kaluma brevicorn. So if you see it, it's usually I don't bring them out because it's a real pain in the butt to get a camera to actually focus on them. Maybe if I get out of the way. See, who knows? Anyway, yep, he's going through a shed and having a. It's a good shed, but sorry, it's not very clear. Gosh, I got to work on how we can do that. I usually just do a slideshow because the cameras just don't do. And now he's shedding all over the place. Oh boy! So you can go ahead and back into your cage. As far as overfeeding, if he's an 8-month-old panther, usually at that age, they're still wanting to eat all the time, and they're still growing, and so you can feed them. But when they start getting into adulthood, their adult size, and you want to pull back. So I'm a little bit surprised that he's not eating at 2 months, but or at 8 months. But maybe he is eating as much as he needs, so that's possible. Matthew's asking, where are they from? These I hatched them here. They came from eggs that came from a wild female that came into Jay Dubé at One World Exotica, and Jay sent me the eggs so I could hatch them here online with you all. If you remember last year, I was showing you the egg progress every time we went live, and they hatched. So that's where they came from. So these are true F1s, and we're going to be sending them to Steve Hefner, who has some F1s, and so we're going to be producing F2s. As far as I know, I don't know if anybody's ever done that before. If anybody has been working with brevicorn and got F2, let me know. But until somebody sticks up their hand up and says we've done it, this may be the first time. Originally, the species Kaluma brevicorn comes from Madagascar. So let's see. I always wanted to ask, with chameleons having those crazy eyes, are they prone to having eye issues of any kind? Oh, yes, they are. They are prone to having a lot of eye issues. That's the eye is a complicated structure, and so a lot of eye issues possible. They can get stuff in their eyes, the vitamin A deficiency, but also the eyes are the window into the inside of their body. And so if anything's wrong in their body, they end up closing their eyes. And so the eyes can have problems, and also they indicate problems. When something's wrong with the eyes, you have no idea exactly what's wrong. Hunter's asking, how important is it to clean, sanitize dead branch from a yard before putting it in the enclosure? I don't clean or sanitize any branches that I get, but I know mine are coming from generally wild areas. So I only wild stuff. I'm not worried about wild stuff coming in on the branches. I never have done any of that, but if it makes you feel better, I don't discourage people from being extra careful. How do you feel about fake plants? I've tried to stay away, but to add some dense foliage in his enclosure would be super easy with them. Haven't seen evidence of him eating his real plants. I don't like fake plants, but I don't make a big deal out of fake plants. So I'd say try to do the real plants. Panther chameleons usually don't chew on plants. A lot of people use the fake plants. I encourage real, but if you're going to do some quick, I would rather him have fake plants and a feeling of security than real plants and no feeling of security. I'll say that. And congratulations, Nick, at having a clutch of first of all Kapani eggs. Yes. Would love to see you do cage reviews. I would like to bring. I think cage reviews would be good. I'm not sure if I want to do them on Saturday or Tuesday, but probably I'll do them on Tuesday nights and maybe one per month. And so if anybody has a cage they'd like reviewed publicly, that I could do it publicly. And I don't, even if the cage is horrible, I do not make fun of people. So it'll be constructive, but make sure it's one of these cages that would be useful for everybody. It would be useful for people to listen in on. And if you have a cage that I think, and this is going to be my judgment here, I got to make sure that this is my show and that the people watching my show would benefit from a cage review. And generally speaking, they will. But if you're going to do this, go to Chameleon, Bill at chameleonacademy.com and send pictures of your cage, your chameleon, and the equipment and the supplementation you use, and give me all of that wonderful stuff. And I'll if it will be useful for the community, please, we'll just tell me I have permission to talk about it publicly. Let's see now. Yay, brevities. All right. I am getting through. Cover your face and camera. Gosh, you know what? I wish it would. I will practice. I will practice and try. Let's see. All right. Okay, people talking about snakes and stuff. Let's see. Chameleon saying hi behind you. Yeah. He's saying hi. He's saying I want to be out of here, so I got to get that. I got to get the new cage ready for him. So let's see. I am trying to catch up with the chat here. So I'm going to buy some Dragon Legends soon, but worries will work with the cage since it's not a common brand. Look at the look at if the cage is 24 inches wide, then the 24 inches Dragon Legends will work, although the back one is a little bit shorter to fit the Reptibreeze. If it's 18 inches, the 18-inch ones will work. If you have any questions, just email me and send me the dimensions of your cage, and I'll let you know if it works or not. Bill, could you review my Parsons enclosure? Still working on getting things dialed in perfectly for him, so you may have some good feedback that others can learn. I would, yes, I've seen your Parsons enclosure. I would love to do a review for the Parsons enclosure. That may be a good way to kick this off. So, why are there many people saying leaf licking for hydration will cause issues like RI? Are there really keepers using small drinking? Rocco, there aren't many people saying that. It's just on Reddit that people are saying that. It's an echo chamber of some crazy people who came up with this out of nowhere and decided to throw it out there as if it were fact. And it's just bouncing around Reddit. That's the only place where people are saying that. And it's not true at all. Zero truth to it. It was pulled out of thin air to support. They have this obsession about getting chameleons to drink from a cup. And they have that obsession because their founder so many years ago got his feelings hurt when somebody told him that chameleons don't drink for cups. And he spent his entire life proving to the world that chameleons have to drink from cups. And he made up this thing about leaf licking causing infections. It was complete fabrication, absolutely no basis in truth. And all you have to do is look at the rest of the world outside of Reddit using misters and not getting infections. You know, nothing more than I can say than It's not true. There's and it's not like it's a little bit true in this situation. It's purely fantasy. So yeah, stay off of Reddit. That's my that's my suggestion. Uh, I'm weird. You could consider fogging. No, you definitely consider fogging. I love fogging. Uh, Love how outgoing your Brevicorn is, Bill. Yeah, he's all over the place. Okay, a lot of people fogging at night. Yep, that's what I do. All right. I am going through a lot of people helping in the chat. Excellent. Very glad. So, never show you any studies why that darn water cup. We tried where this water cup comes from is back in the 80s. We were trying to figure out how to, and I know because I was there, trying to figure out how to get water to chameleons. And the way we gave water to reptiles is through a water cup. And we figured out that didn't work so well. And so then we put a bubbler in the water cup so it would bubble up, and that worked. But then we figured out the misting worked so much better. But the founder of that Reddit group he kept trying. He just forces his chameleons to use the water cup method, and decided since I could make this water cup work with one chameleon, therefore this is the way it should be. And he spent his entire life pushing that and refusing to move forward with the rest of the community, to the point where people forget that that water cup was something we left decades ago because it didn't work. If a hydration method is going to work, it's got to work across all species. Figuring out, testing new husbandry on veiled chameleons that's the worst species to try it on. You got to, they will do crazy things. Panther chameleons, all of these things are, they're very gregarious and outgoing, and they'll figure things out. It's got to work on Parsons chameleons. It's got to work on Cristatus if we're going to work. If it's going to be an acceptable chameleon husbandry model, it's got to work with baby hatchling chameleons. So this is why nobody else uses a water cup. It'd be great if it worked. It would be very convenient. This isn't a political thing. I would love if water cups worked, because then I wouldn't have to do all the fogging, all the misting. So it's a thing where it just isn't effective as a husbandry technique. You can make some chameleons do it, but I work with so many other species besides panther chameleons and veiled chameleons. I got to do something that's natural for the chameleons so they will accept it, and I don't have to train them to do it. So, yeah, just it's. I try to stay out of politics, but you got to just stay off of Reddit. You got people who want you to put chameleons in small, sparse cages. It's like you're taking a page out of the past with people that refuse to move forward, and they're so far in the past that people forget that that's the past, and they think, oh, okay, this is a different way of doing it. No, that is an ancient way of doing that the rest of us have all grown out of. So I don't think there's any way to save that place. You just gotta just don't waste your time there. I was curious what the normal signs of a Jackson's chameleon decline are. I had one for about 6 months before he stopped eating for a week and got really skinny. He passed on after having convulsions. Well, becoming lethargic, their eyes closing, sinking in, and and then what you're talking about, stopping eating. These are all signs of decline. It may be passed on after having convulsions. Okay, there was something going on internally. Yeah. Let's see. I purchased a veiled on Sunday. He has yet to eat, and I haven't seen it drink. Lethargic during the day. My anxiety is through the roof now. I have the lights. Good. Well, if your husbandry is correct, then there's something wrong with the veiled chameleon because it should be chowing down on everything in sight. So there is, you take him to the vet or take him back. Sunday is already lethargic. That's not good. See, John Keeb says overnight fogging and misting strategy has worked for me. I've never seen my chameleon run to the dripper. Yeah. And see, this is what happens when what we're doing is we're trying to figure out what's going on in the wild. What is their natural way of hydration? That is going to be the simplest way to care for your chameleon. When chameleons come into captivity, they've got all sorts of stresses. There's so many different compromises that we put on them just being in captivity. And so it's our responsibility to go to nature and find out what aspects of nature really help them out. And fogging is a gentle hydration, and it works with every single chameleon. So that's one of the biggest discoveries of chameleon husbandry, of modern chameleon husbandry, to the point where using a fogger and in conjunction with a mister, we can create a hydration state in the chameleon where they ignore water during the day. And that, to me, that sounds like a really good way to go. Is there any way to help a veiled chameleon shed? He has been in process for several days now, and all is coming off good except for his tail. Should I worry about it all or just leave him be? After a while, I would go in and start seeing if you can peel off the shed from the tail using tweezers, gently, making sure that as you pull the skin, it's not connected, it's not stuck onto the skin beneath, because then you can damage it. So you can go in and help, especially if there's little things around the tails or the toes. Oh, the point of Reddit is to aggregate input, and the correct answer should bubble to the top in theory. The more experienced keepers use it, the better. Yes, but stinky when you have a management and admin staff that removes mention of other methods and gets rid of bans. More experienced keepers that say something different, that system falls apart. And that is exactly what's going on. People who disagree are removed. And so those opinions you will never see unless you go outside of Reddit. Let's see. You'll see over 40 views, only 16 likes. Everybody hit the thumbs up. Yes. Everybody go ahead, please hit the like, and let YouTube know this is a good place to be. Appreciate that. Let's see. I'm working on humidity levels at night. I've worked on all my cages to make them hybrid. Would misting plus a small room humidifier work for multiple cages? I absolutely love the idea of a room humidifier. The more you can make the outside environment what your chameleon needs, the better. I recommend hybrid cages for most people so they can create that little environment inside that little cage. But if anybody has the option to control the environment of the entire room and then get screen cages, that's better, because the larger the space that you are trying to control and are able to control, by the way, let's assume that you're able to do this, the better, because it's just more and more natural the bigger it gets. I would love it for everybody to just have room size cages. That would be great. So I would say, in concept, misting plus a small room humidifier would work for multiple cages. Now, you got to be careful how you do this, because can you really get that high humidity in your room using a small room humidifier? If you're talking about getting up into the 90%, 100%, your room will not be able to handle that. The paint on your room will start to peel and things will get pretty moldy and murky in there. So you may be talking about a greenhouse, you may be talking about a grow tent, whatever you're able, if you're able to get the room humidity up, that is better than getting the small area humidity up. So I would encourage you to go in that direction. So let's see. And just make sure that it actually works. You can't just set up a humidifier and say, okay, it's there. You got to measure the humidity and see that you're actually being effective. Now, I've done it to where I've gotten those essentially foggers. It's the mist humidifiers, and I've put them on shelves over my cages and let the fog go down into the cages. That's one way I've done it, and I've been able to kind of have a localized humidity. Let's see. All right. Going through all the chats here. So, Nick's saying grow tents, except do not do screen cages. Still recommend hybrid. Okay. All right. Nick, you use grow tents and hybrid cages inside the grow tent? Okay. I think actually we're going to be doing me and Nick are going to be getting something together about carpet chameleons. And so I promise everybody when we do that, we will take a look at this particular situation. See, Wayne Beatty says, Bill, didn't you try something along trying to humidify the whole room and peeled the paint? Or I mixed up my high humidity creators. I did indeed. I did this myself in my garage, and that's when I learned that garages are not meant to be rainforests. That was, learning. That was early in my chameleon career. I learned a lot of lessons, and a lot of fun lessons. I will present them to you, and you can decide if you want to learn from my experiences or do it yourself. It's fun. It's fun to learn this stuff for yourself. Sometimes it's destructive, but hey, you know what? That's what life is all about. Okay, Mikey Ben has started with a grow tent. I like this idea of grow tents. I'd like to try a grow tent sometime. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah. Let's see. Amy's Reptile Adventure says, here's my theory. The little bit that I've learned here about chameleons, I've learned that they are very delicate and complicated species to own and care for. Husbandry definitely has to be spot on. Amy, the thing is, chameleons are very hardy and they are survivors. I think when I go to Madagascar and I see how much abuse they can take, I saw chameleons with missing limbs, missing eyes, desiccated to the point where they're just skeletons. And it just goes to show us that when our chameleons die in captivity, that may be an unflattering reflection on our husbandry than it is the fragility of a chameleon. But give me a second. But yes, it is to our best. We do need to have our husbandry in the ideal. The problem is we have so many different husbandry opinions, and a lot of opinions are based on if my chameleon lives, then my husbandry is valid and is just as valid as anybody else's. And that's just not the case, because there is ideal husbandry and there is the tolerance zone where a chameleon can still live, but they're not living a good life. They still breathe, they still eat, and maybe they still breed. But if something small happens, just a little bit of a stressor that pushes them over the edge, they die, and we say, oh, chameleons are fragile. Well, if you have chameleons in the ideal husbandry, then they're going to be able to take a lot of those stressors and just brush them off. So, and not to say that we know the ideal husbandry. That's what we keep working towards. That's what I keep working towards. And hopefully other people in the community are working towards. It's just because, and the reason why it's worth continuing working towards ideal husbandry is because the more ideal it is, the more little stressors, all these compromises that we have in captivity that I don't know if we're ever going to be able to get all of them out. Probably not. But the more ideal we can get the husbandry, the more those stressors the chameleons can just slough off. So that's why I do what I do. And we'll just keep working. Just keep working and figuring out as much as we can. Do you have a Discord channel? I do not have a Discord channel. I have I do have a virtual campus that is a paid course forum, and that is where I hang out during the week. And if you're interested on that, it is you can join it, chameleonacademy.com. Just look for the virtual campus, and you can get that, and you can talk to us all during the week. So let's see. Sprat Photography, camouflage, and you have different styles, I have noticed. Yes, we do. And that is to be expected. They are breeders, and I am a pushing husbandry forward. The breeders are going to be the ones that stay with the husbandry that has worked the longest and they're going to do the least risk. And this is because their job is to make sure that their customers are successful, and they don't want to use like these new things that I'm talking about. Fogging, that's relatively new. I'm talking about that because I am pushing husbandry forward. I'm on the vanguard, the frontier of husbandry. You don't want to use things like that where we haven't really figured out everything about fogging. I haven't figured out all the ways that people can screw it up. And I'm more and more comfortable that it is the way we need to go forward, but I still want to figure out all the ways that people can screw it up before I feel 100% comfortable with it. A breeder is going to say, no, I'm not going to mess with stuff that we don't know everything about. I'm going to be telling my people the things that's been working for the last 20 years. So it is normal and it's smart that breeders stick with the simplest stuff that's been working for the longest time. And so, yes, camouflage sticks with that, and they should stick with that. You go and it will work. So if you buy from Camouflage, I recommend that you do exactly what they say for husbandry. Your chameleon will grow up just fine. If once you get your legs under you, you say, hey, you know what Bill says makes sense about, instead of giving vitamin D3 in supplement with every feeding, maybe I can go to the more natural way of doing it through UVB. Once you get your feet under you and you are confident and you can start thinking about stuff like that, then you can start moving to some of the things that I'm talking about, because you are thinking enough that you are taking responsibility for, this is how I'm going to make it work. When you first start off and you're working with a breeder, you don't know what is good, what is bad. You are doing exactly what they tell you, and you should. So, yes, I do things differently than camouflage, but you should do what camouflage tells you to for the first year, because they're the ones that are going to be hand holding you. They're the ones that you're going to go to if something is gone wrong. And if you do their way of husbandry, then they know exactly how to troubleshoot whatever you have, because they've been doing it year after year, decade. So they know that so well that just a little bit of a problem, they know what to tell you. Okay. If you start doing what I'm saying or what anybody else is saying, and then you go back to camouflage, they're going to say, all right, so what are you doing? How are you combining all of this? And it becomes a mess. So it's okay that there are different ways of chameleon husbandry out there. That's fine. They serve different purposes. So um, even though we have different approaches, I completely support what camouflage is doing and their husbandry approach, because they have tested it over decade or two. So you're safe in their hands, even though I am saying something different. So let's see. Any advice for husbandry on jeweled chameleons? Can't find anyone local who really knows anything about them. If you go on the chameleonacademy.com website, look for profiles. I have something on the jeweled chameleon, Cameleo, or Furcifer campani. And that is from based off of husbandry from Michael Nash, who has successfully bred them. Yeah, Spread Photography says, awesome. I set up to mimic them, but learn a lot from you. Yes, perfect. Start with what they've given you. That will work, and that will be perfect. And once you get more confident in your chameleon, you can start integrating more things and different things. So, and that's, by the way, everybody, that is the natural way that it should work in our community. Start everybody off on what is known and what is as foolproof as possible. And then you can get your experience and then work towards somebody who's pushing the husbandry forward. And we need both of those in the community. I know I try to make the new stuff as accessible to beginners as possible. But a lot of the stuff that I'm pushing husbandry forward, that means by definition, there will be things that we have to figure out. We need people in the community who are figuring things out. And that's me. So understand there are places for everyone in this community, even though it sounds like we're contradicting each other. And sometimes everybody gets in a fight. And a lot of times those fights are completely unnecessary. When we understand we need different aspects in this community. What's the high number on the UVB that can be in the cage, and what should be the low? High number, I say, is UV index of 6, and then put UV index of 3 at the basking branch. Those are the two values that I use, and actually have been proven out. UV index of 3 has been proven out. UV index of 6, which is the maximum, what I call the maximum safe, that's debatable. So how do I know what hibiscus plants are good for a panther? They're good. They're just difficult to keep alive in in our cages with our the lighting that we have. They need a lot of lighting. So get yourself a lot of go crazy with your UVB or your LEDs, LED lighting. Yeah. Okay, Nick is saying the reason why he uses hybrid cages in his grow tent, screen cages seem to dry out way too fast, even with the higher humidity. Okay. All right then. This is what we need, is people testing out these new ways of doing things. Alfredo's asking about the genetic testing being done by Rare Genetics and iPardalis. I haven't heard an update on that yet. I know I was supposed to get an update on that, but I don't have it. I will have to look into that. I don't know sure when I'm doing that, but I'll have to get an update from them. So, oh, that's so sad to hear about them in the wild. Nature is not a nice place. Nature wants to kill everything that it's got. There is no such thing as Mother Nature. It's like Satan nature. Um, really bad. Oh yeah, I've seen chameleons in the wild with messed up stomatitis, mouth rot, and these growths on them, and it's just yikes. Nature is hard. Thinking about building one of those free-ranging enclosures to give my veiled some enrichment. Any thought? Be careful, Susan, about doing free-range enclosures, because as much as a lot of extra space sounds great in concept, unless you're giving them the lighting, the UVB, and the hydration, all of that space could be not as good. And it could be dangerous, if doors are opening and such. So I generally don't like free range enclosures, just because they usually end up having the chameleon walk around the walls without light, without UVB, and without proper hydration. So I don't think, conceptually, I don't think that they're wrong. I'm not going to. I know some people have done some really cool free range setups. Just if you're going to do it, be smart about it, and say, okay, how can I make sure that the chameleon's going to get everything they need and not be in danger? And so, as long as you check those two boxes, should be fine. Thought you were going to halftime this. I did as well, and yet here we are. Hyped up on chameleon energy now. Yeah. Oh, do I do this? All right. I'll do this. Are you familiar with Chameleons 101? Seems to sell a lot of eggs. Are they reputable breeder? I don't like Chameleons 101. I don't like the deceptive marketing. They say they sell eggs to people, telling them that this is a cheap and easy way of getting into chameleons, and it is neither. It is an expensive, it is risky, and it is the most delicate part of chameleon's life. Now, here I am educating people on how to take care of hatchlings. Yes, I love the idea. I need people who are experienced with hatchlings for what I'm trying to do with the Chameleon Academy and the small batch breeding. But I don't like the deceptive marketing, and I don't think that there is an excuse for deceptive marketing. I'm really on the edge with that. When I first started not first started, but a couple of years ago, I actually liked the idea of selling eggs, because you sell the eggs and the person can do all the research, and then they can really be ready to when the baby hatches. Yeah, we're all good. And then I found all the deceptive marketing, people having no idea what to do with this egg and waiting until it hatches and then saying, how do I take care of this? And in practice, the whole thing has just been a mess. And in part, it's been a mess because of the people doing it, to be blunt and honest. There were people selling eggs beforehand, And actually, I like the support that they gave. That's why I had a good opinion of egg sales, is because the people who were doing it beforehand, they were doing a lot of support and a lot of good support. So yeah, it's an issue. The egg sales is a real touchy issue with me. I'm not. It's hard to tell how I feel about it, but right now, I don't like how it's being done. It's just not being done in an ethical way. Uh, so, Bill, I found a few ways you can mess up. Oh, you're talking about fogging? Yes, please. Okay, you know what? Send it to me privately. I'd like to know. Yeah. So they say you won't need fog. I know. Okay, we're talking about the cup drinkers again. I know. They made up this thing called internal humidity. There's no such thing as internal humidity. It's called hydration. So, I mean, we're talking about people who are making things up in a vacuum and in a silo, an echo chamber, and they don't have anybody there that can tell them this is garbage, this is ridiculous. And so they just keep building up stories. So, dude, just stay away from people who do that. That's all I can say. Um, when getting potted plants from my local nursery, do you suggest cleaning and repotting? Yeah, that's what I would say. Um, but I repot to give a bigger pot. I make sure that there's no spiders and stuff in the bottom. That's the big thing. I do not like spiders. Those are serious. Make sure you don't have spiders, especially if you have young chameleons. Consider it as internal what? Yeah, internal humidity. It is. Yeah. I just tell the rest of the reptile community, don't worry about humidity, internal humidity. Yeah, let's see. Sheesh. It's painful. So let's see. Okay, I'm gonna rush through the. Hey Joshua, somebody got 2 Academy t-shirts. Excellent. Oh, hey, Kazukuza, Japan's got to go. Goodbye. Yeah. Let's see. I'm an enthusiast who lives in the USA who recently required first of all Baltiatus and a Tigris. Any advice? Talk to the breeder and do what they want. Do what they tell you to do. You're talking about 2. I mean, both they're both high humidity, but you have 2 species that are completely. This is the first time. Well, I know Tigris has been in the U.S. before, but nobody's ever talked about it, and I don't have care for either of those. I mean, the Baltiatus is found where the yellow-lip Parsons is found, and the O'Shaughnessy. So, if I was suddenly to have a Baltiatus, I would keep them like I do my O'Shaughnessy and yellow-lip Parsons. But Tigris from the Seychelles, I don't have any frame of reference for that one. So definitely talk to the breeder about that one. So those are very cool. Very good to hear that those are in the United States. Do you happen to have pairs? Any chance that we're going to have captive breeding here in the future? That would be very cool. So, all right. I'm really working through this chat. It is coming to the end. Well, actually, we're past the end. But let me know if there's any other questions. I know I probably missed a whole lot of questions because I am going through them as much as possible. Hey, that egg I got from that lady originally came from Chameleons 101. Is 11 months old, still an egg, but it's still white. Yeah, and the eggs, some hatch, some don't. And so, yeah, that's where a lot of them come from. And I have I'm balancing between saying don't do it and doing everything I can to help people. And so, Alicia, you don't have to be embarrassed. Yeah, I mean, nobody has to be embarrassed if you have even though I don't like Chameleons 101, nobody has to be embarrassed if they have an egg from Chameleons 101, because I'm going to help you be as successful with that hatchling as possible. In fact, I'm writing an ebook on the entire process so people like who have an egg can be successful. So that's what I'm going to do, even though I don't like the situation, but I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't exist. So, all right, keep going, keep going. So, is there a place you recommend for egg sales of 101? Don't go for egg sales. If any of you have an egg, I'm not going to bash you. All right, I'm going to help you be successful. But I'm weird. I wouldn't recommend getting an egg. Here's the problem with getting an egg. There's so much risk. Number one, you don't know if you have a male or a female. If that doesn't matter to you, fine. But there's so much risk in whether the baby's going to hatch or not. A lot of them don't hatch, and then you are learning chameleons in the most sensitive life stage of a chameleon. And so that's a real tough time to start. So I recommend going to a reputable breeder and getting a well-started juvenile chameleon, and you are going to be off and running. Once they are ready to go to a new home, they're like, they are really hardy. And so it's worth it to go with a breeder. And so if you don't have an egg, go with a reputable breeder. It's worth it. And then you have somebody who's going to handhold you through the entire process. It's the best way to start with a chameleon. And everybody's going to say, but Bill, you're talking about sending eggs out. Yeah, but that's to my group who was experienced. Once you're experienced, we can start doing more things. But how do I get experienced if I don't start? Just start where you're supposed to start, with a juvenile chameleon, and learn the basics of chameleon care. And then after that, you can start doing these more advanced things. That is the best way to go about doing it. So, are you going to start covering neonate hydration soon on a workshop? I will be getting to that. Whoops. Yes, I will be getting to that. So, what are some reactions from a spider bite in babies? They turn black and they die. And that's they turn black if they're processing the poison, and then they die. All right. Alicia, you are set up for success. Any chameleon? Yes, and that's the thing. I have to. If you have an egg and you are here, then you've already gotten. You're getting good information. The problem is when people get an egg and they wait until the egg hatches to get the information, to get the cage set up and all of that. And that it happens so often. I can't tell you how many times people message me on Instagram saying, hey, my egg just hatched. What do I do? It's like, and that just drives me crazy. So if you have an egg and you are here listening to me right now, I'm not bashing you. You're doing exactly what you should do. You're in the exact right place. I love hatchling chameleons. I love the whole baby stage. I am going to give you whatever information I can to make you successful, and you will be. It's not that hard if you do it right. And so you're learning how to do it right here. I mean, Alicia's been here for months. So yeah, she knows what she's going to do. That baby is going to have a good life. So is good. So no feeding chameleons house spiders. It depends. You know, you got black widows. Those are really tough on chameleons. Lost a few babies over the last few months. Just curious if it was due to my pet spiders. I vacuum up once a month. They love the free fly. Yeah, I don't know. Like I have a lot of the harvestmen here, so those really aren't a problem. But we get some of the house spiders that are, and I did lose a chameleon, a very valuable chameleon, to a black widow. So that was really tough. So, Bill, Renee says, time for you. Oh my goodness, you're right. See, that's the wonderful thing about having my community. They all take care of me. Thank you very much, everybody. All right, folks. I will see you. Podcast will be coming out Thursday. Chances are I will have a video on Friday morning. I will announce it both on Instagram and on the Circle community, the virtual campus. And then Saturday, 12 noon, we will be back and we will be talking about the 5 commandments of chameleon hatchling care. Thank you very much for being here, and I'll see you next time.